So we've been following reporting in the Guardian newspaper, and this is reference to a leading Western journalist who's long had a reputation for being one of Germany's top independent experts on Russia. Stories come out that he's received 600,000 euros in payments. The payments, which were undisclosed, came from companies linked to a Russian businessman and superyacht owner close to Vladimir Putin, linked files have revealed. Now, the journalist that's been reported here, his name is Hubert Seipel. He's an award-winning filmmaker and author. And it turns out he was paid money in installments, which documents suggest was to support his work on 2 books he wrote to chart Putin's rise to power and offer portrayals described by many as sympathetic to the Russian president. He's one of the few journalists anywhere to have had direct and regular contact with the Russian leader. Seipel, who by his own admission has met Putin almost 100 times, has acknowledged receiving money from accounts linked to the oligarch Alexei Mordashov, a steel and banking magnate placed under sanctions last year for his close ties to the Kremlin. The information in the newspaper article came from the Cyprus Confidential Project, which is kind of like the Panama Papers, if you know what that is. It's a cache of 3.5 million records leaked to the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists and Germany's paper Trail Media. They shared access with The Guardian, and that's how they came up with this reporting. Now, the documents contain details of payments totaling 600,000 euros, which appear to be connected to the second book. Seipel wrote 2 books about Vladimir Putin. This was supposedly connected to the second book. Now, Seipel confirmed he'd received support from Mordashov, saying his support relates exclusively to the book projects. He stressed he had remained impartial, saying, "I always set clear legal boundaries that guaranteed my independence." Now, who is Alexei Mordashov, Putin's ally, as he's referred to in the Guardian newspaper? He owns Motor Yacht Nord. It's that massive 142-meter yacht that fled to Vladivostok at the outbreak of the war in Ukraine and has been trying to hide a location ever since, when in waters most likely considered unfriendly. You know, we've been tracking the vessel switching off AIS whenever it suits the crew. So the yacht was last seen in Abu Dhabi about a week ago. He also owns Motor Yacht Lady M, a 65-meter yacht arrested in Imperia in Italy in 2022, which has been held there ever since. We've done a number of videos on that subject. The EU described Mordashov in its sanctions press release and notice as one of Putin's elite who was benefiting from his links with Russian decision makers. He was the largest shareholder in TUI, Europe's biggest tour operator, an investment currently frozen because of the sanctions. The Cyprus files include an agreement titled Deed of Sponsorship, signed in March 2018 by Seipel and by a director of a British Virgin Islands registered company called De Vere Worldwide Corporation. The documents from this time period list the ultimate owner of De Vere as a high-ranking manager in Mordashov's Sevastopol group. So a few things to take away from this story. One of them is payments limit impartiality. Anyone claiming to be independent whilst receiving payments from the person they are writing about or people close to the person they're writing about is most likely to be compromised, even if they don't believe they are themselves. Writing something negative about someone who's given you money, even if you do write that negative thing, you're most likely going to put it in the most positive way you can because you know that they're paying you money, right? Another thing that's important to take from this is the hidden ownership aspect of that story. We often talk about yachts that are owned by these companies, often registered in the British Virgin Islands, as in this case, and where they very often, the yacht owner will say that they don't own the vessel. Now, we often get lawyers' letters saying the yacht is not owned by a person that we've mentioned in a previous video. But this is a clear example of how that ownership can be hidden, and then lawyers can take advantage of the fact that the person's name is not listed anywhere, even though the person is clearly calling the shots. In this case, the report suggests that the owner of the company making the payments to Seipel was an employee working in one of Mordashov's companies. So Mordashov's name is not listed anywhere in that company, but he is ultimately in charge of that person who's making those payments. And in this case, Seipel admitted that he was working with Mordashov. So, that proves that Mordashov is in control of that company, regardless of the fact that his name is not on that list. The journalist Seipel initially denied receiving the payments but later admitted to it. And the book publisher, which he already had a contract with, didn't know about the payments. And the deed that resulted in the payments stated he was free to work independently. However, knowing what you know now, would you trust the book to be independent and unbiased? Thanks very much for watching this video. You've been watching a SuperYacht News clip. If you'd like to see the full unedited SuperYacht News video, you can click on the link over here. You can also find our channel links below here. And if you'd like to see more shorter videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel.